Hey everybody, it is June 21st, 2007. I am Sonic Suns. I'm doing a bit more on Shinobi Rises based on a response I got. So if you know, I made more videos yesterday. They didn't get posted due to technical problems on my end, actually. So, you can see the Shinobi Rises 3-part video I did. And I got an email from Perry Urban, and that's very cool. So, I responded to that, he responded back, and here's some of what he said. So I'm going to go through this letter, not reading it out loud, but point by point, and see what I have to say. Because first off, Perry, I'm very excited that you responded. It's very nice to have someone to talk to my creative stuff with. At the same time, I disagree with much of what you said here, which is fine. You know, we can talk it out. We can figure where we're going with this. So first, you note that I probably can't use Shinobi in the title, because there have been Shinobi games before, and even though it's just a word, it's, you know, been part of a legal framework that's such a dense net, you probably can't get through it. Yeah, well, okay. I'll either buy the rights someday, or just change the name, whatever. It's going to be a while before I actually make this thing anyway. You know, I think about things far in advance. So you mentioned Peter Molyneux and his ideas of choosing your own path in the game and being whoever you want to be. This is a thing, you know, we've seen in a lot of games. We've seen Knights of the Old Republic, and Jade Empire, another BioWare game, I guess, coming up. And the Elder Scrolls games, Oblivion, the most recent one, and of course Peter Molyneux's Black and White, and Fable, and upcoming Fable 2. So, you know, going through how the things work up on the in these types of games. You try and give people as much of a sandbox as you can. I gotta say one thing about these good or evil games is that it doesn't really seem real, and that is, in so many of these, Fable, etc., it feels like you really kind of have two games plastered together. And you have the game where you're a good guy and the game where you're a bad guy. And granted, there's a whole spectrum in between. You can be, yeah, you can, okay. But, you know, it's essentially a lot of people, Fable for instance, they play through and they beat it on playing as a good guy, and they play through again as a bad guy, right? Or on Knights of the Republic, I remember a friend playing through, I saw him playing and just had to kill some innocent civilians. I'm like, oh, don't kill the civilians. He's like, oh, well, I already played through as a Jedi, so I'm being a Sith this time. It's like, you know, that doesn't seem real. That doesn't seem, evil. When you're like, well, I'm playing through this just to see the evil content. Shouldn't being evil be kind of a bad thing? You know? Shouldn't it, That's what I'm trying to explore. I'm trying to actually help the real-life player to be good. To understand himself, and not to be good in a sort of cliche way of like, you've saved this many civilians, you are this much good, you are, you know. I'm trying to literally help the player, not his avatar. So I don't want to do this basic thing of, you know, where essentially you're encouraged not so much to do what you want, but to do each option in turn. Play through the game this way, then play through the game that way. You won't be able to even play through the game in Shinobi Rises. There's no ending. Not supposed to be an ending, you know? Not at all. Alright, so what we got? Oh, so the one question you'd like to ask Peter Molyneux, the one question everyone in the world would like to ask Peter Molyneux is, why have none of your games lived up to the promises you made? Yes. Two things about Peter Molyneux. Number one, he's made a series of great games. Number two, none of those games has been as good as you expected. They're good games, you just expected flipping awesome games. Now, Perry, you ask, you know, why this is, and your answer is, quote, "The problem here is that games alone cannot imitate life. They cannot provide an appropriate framework upon which profound questions about morality, philosophy, and spirituality can be explored." Well, why not? I mean, books can do that, right? You can have a book about morality, philosophy, and or spirituality. You could have movies about that, or a play, or a speech, or an article in a newspaper even, right? Right, why not games? A game is just a more interactive type of media, you know? And all media is capable of expressing, fundamentally, everything we have to express. We just gotta keep refining the craft and getting better at that expression. So the only difference with the game is that it's interactive, right? But, well, it's actually, when you have a conversation with somebody, isn't that interactive? Yeah. And can that conversation include morality, philosophy, and spirituality? Of course it can. So, interaction doesn't destroy anything. Matter of fact, it can help, so long as you set that up right. And that's the tricky part in doing this in a video game, because you don't have a real-life person to interact with properly. At least not as far as the single-player, non-online aspect goes. Okay. So yeah. We can create an appropriate framework. We can bring out, abstractly, but still truthfully, try and explore the consequences of various things, of various emotions, good and bad, and all mixed up, and very, very interesting that way. A lot to explore. Alright, so you talk about dynamic narrative, and in Fable, and how you can make choices and people react to you, you know. Alright. If all you're talking about is a fun implementation of that idea, with players led down a path determined by their actions, then I say it's easily possible. But it is a lot more difficult, maybe impossible, to provide an accurate picture of a real-life personality by such means. It might work in a laboratory situation where the player was fully and constantly aware that every decision was being used to assess their psychology, but in an everyday game-playing situation, players are going to act in contrary ways just to have some fun. Now, wait a minute, Perry. You say it might work in a laboratory situation where they're fully and constantly aware that every decision was being used to assess their psychology. No, that is precisely where it won't work. It won't work in a laboratory, because then you're going to be biased towards messing with the results of that laboratory. So, no, not necessarily to messing with it, unless you really hate laboratories for some reason, which I guess, you know, is something you have to deal with. But you're going to be, you know, trying to project your personality as you think it is. You ever met somebody who, let's say, she is a very hard worker, but she thinks that she's lazy? Or he, as the case may be, right? Well, if a girl like that takes a psychological exam, you know, she's going to be biased towards answering questions in a way that makes her seem lazy, because she thinks that she's lazy, when really she's not. She's just a hard worker, and she sets, you know, standards for herself that are far too high. So, what you get is not a picture of who the person is so much as who the person thinks they are, which, by the way, is interesting data. But I like the idea of not dressing it up as a psychology game, and just being an experience. And you're honestly just experiencing it. And that at least gets rid of some of the bias. And of course the game will have to see through some more of that bias, right? The game will have to, you know if you're faking it. How would the game know that? Well, I don't know. But, I'm gonna figure this out. Okay. So, you said, let's say the game starts, the player's avatar is a young child. Well, I actually don't know about that. I think we would go with an adult ninja, really, because then if you're an adult, you work with that, oh, that's an adult, and if you're a kid, you don't flipping care because it's a ninja. But, you see that, what do you got here? Alright, so we present the player with a series of puzzles or conundrums, you say. No, we don't. We don't have a linear series of puzzles and conundrums. We don't, any more than life is a series of puzzles and conundrums, which I guess it is, but it sure as heck isn't a linear series. Like, I got past this, and then this, and then this. Like, the other day, I cured my, eating problems. Now I'm done. Ding, ding, ding. You're not done. Nothing has ever snapped. It moves and changes and, like, I don't know, flows like water almost. Very, very, But a series of puzzles or conundrums is too linear sounding anyway. Maybe you were just saying,